Okay, for the Kahanim amongst us, today's your daf. Kohen daf day.
It's just another reason not to like Kahan. That's all.
Okay, so we're on Kuf Tesam Abayz. 5 lines up from the bottom. Minayin Lekayin. First, we start with basic halachas of the kahuna. So again, we were talking about yesterday. We started talking about. Thank you. Have a cup, please. When we were talking about yesterday about that there's mishmaras, right? When a ger, that's the first part of tonight's stuff. Oh, the kohen himself is just getting on. Another kohen. Okay, tonight's again for you, Naftali. So we said that when you steal from a ger and the ger dies, since there's no relatives, thank you. There's no relatives, so then the money goes to the kehanim. The money goes to the kehanim. He has to bring a korban, right? And we said that which kehanim does it go to? So there's 24 mishmaras, right? Each one serving a week at a time, each mishmar, and whichever mishmar is going then gets to keep the money. Right, we'll see more about that later on in the daf. So Tana Rabbanon, Minayin Lekayin Shabo Makrav Kavanoisa B'chol Eisa B'chol Shosha Yirtze. How do we know? Meaning, so normally the kahanim that are in the mishmar are the ones that are dealing with all the karbanos. But the Gemara is saying that a kohen can come randomly if he wants to bring his own korban. He can come even though it's not his mishmar, and he can do whatever he wants. Says he could come whenever he wants. Avas means when he desires, and then he could work. Okay, so maybe he can bring karbanos, but who says that the skin and the basar, right, which the kehanim get, which normally goes to the kehanim of that mishmar? So how do we know? That he's allowed to keep it? The kodesh is going to be to him. Okay, tzad. What does this mean? If he's a balmum, meaning if the kohen was a balmum, and therefore he can't be makar of it, but still, since it's his korban, he's allowed to give it over to any kohen he wants. Unless it's the kohen sheba mishmar, he can give it to whatever kohen he wants that's in that mishmar. Right? Meaning, normally a kohen, if it's his korban, he can give it to whoever he wants, even to a kohen that's not in the mishmar. But this guy, since he's a balmum, he cannot give it to whichever kohen he wants. He can only give it to a kohen that's in this mishmar. But the avoida and the skin, meaning avoida means the meat and the skin, that he's allowed to keep. Right? On to Aleph now. So that's if he was a balmum. But let's say he's a zaken or chayla, which means there's no psul by zaken or chayla. Right? But if he's a zaken or a chayla, niceness the chol kohen sheyirtze, then he can give it to any kohen that he wants, meaning even one that's not in the mishmar. But here, the avodah, meaning the meat and the skin, goes to the anshe mishmar. Right? See, I mean, it's confusing, right? If the guy's a regular kohen and he's not a balmum, so he can bring the korban. He could appoint whoever he wants to bring the korban, and they get the skin and the meat. If he's a balmum, he could appoint only somebody who's in the mishmar, but he's allowed to keep the skin and the meat. If he's a zaken or a chayla, then he could give it to whichever kohen he wants. But since he can't eat it, therefore it goes to the people from the mishmar, and he doesn't have a say in it. Right? So there's basically 3 different categories of types of kehanim. So hi zaken or chayla. Then Gemara asks, what's with the zaken or chayla? Hi zaken or chayla. What's the case? Either matzi avid avoida. If he could do the avodah, meaning if he has the ability to do the avodah, right? So then it should be his. And if he can't do the avodah, shliach heichi mashvi. So then how could he make a shliach? Meaning, if you can only make a shliach if you're able to do the avodah. If you're not able to do the avodah, you can't make a shliach. So Manushah, what's going on here? Somewhere where he could do the malacha yidei atchak, and avodah, when I'm sorry, he could do the avodah yidei atchak, and avodah the chi avid le al yidei atchak avodah. Even if a person is old or he's not well, and it's difficult for him to do the avodah, but if he does the avodah, it's considered a good avodah. Mashvi shliach. So since he could do the avodah, he can make a shliach and he can choose whichever kohen he wants to do it for him. But achila,
I thought there was a girl who would do the avodah, no?
right? But here,
That's a carbon sibba. That's a carbon sibba.
a kohen. That's what we're saying. Naftali, you got the kohanim have a special. Any kohen that any
can choose any kohen. A kohen can choose any kohen.
No, for his own, yes, for his own. Any kohen, even if it's not a mishra. That's what we're saying. And he can make a shliach. But achila, since he's not well or he's old, he can't really eat it. So even if he eats it, it's not going to be considered an achila because it's an achila gasa. But achila gasa lav klumu, and an achila gasa is nothing. Meaning it's not even considered an achila. Therefore, the meat and the skin does not go to him; it goes to Anshe Mishmar. Right? So achila gasa is if you eat a lot, let's say before Pesach, before eating Matzi Matzah or Afikoyman. This is why they say not to eat so much during Shulchan Aruch, because if you're so stuffed, then now you got to eat Afikoyman, and it becomes an achila gasa. Then you weren't yaitza, you were not yaitza mitzvahs Afikoyman because of achila gasa. I mean, you really have to eat a lot.
You said that achila, but the oir is not an achila. The oir is just the skin, the hide.
I think, I think it goes hand in hand though. If you can't do the achila, then you don't get the oir either. I think. And then the same thing goes with Erev Yom Kippur. If you stuffed yourself by Erev Yom Kippur, and then a few minutes into Yom Kippur you decide to eat something, that's not an achila. You're going to be potter. If it's an achila gasa, it's not an achila. So therefore, I guess the Gemara is assuming that if he was old and not well, any achila he does is.
Can you have an achila gasa Yom Kippur in the morning?
You really must have eaten a lot.
Amen.
If Taka you're disgusted by it, then anachanami. I mean, you're talking about 12 later, 12 hours after you last ate. Can you have a shasiya gasa now that I'm drinking?
I don't know. I'm asking.
I don't know.
Why not?
Yes, you can.
Of course you can.
Excuse me.
Sorry.
If he had, you have to have an achila regular before an achila gasa, right? When you eat the first slice, it's a regular achila. When you eat the 8 slices, achila gasa, yeah? Or by a drink too.
All right, I'm disappointed. I was going to say.
So how is he put on Yom Kippur with achila gasa? You have to have achila ragil before.
Right after the Suda.
I'm asking in the daytime. I'm asking. I didn't ask you for the Suda section.
In the day, I don't think he could have. I never thought anybody could have in the day.
Okay. Okay.
I thought you were going to say the Shia Gasa was the tequila drinkers.
Okay, so you thought wrong once again.
There's a concept by drinking it. I don't know if it's a chila gas. It's more that it's not for tzama. It's not to quench your thirst. That in such a case you wouldn't necessarily make a bracha even if it's not to quench your thirst. Shiloh, if you could also be yotze with Zeman was such a drinking, like if you there's no purpose to your drinking, if it's just to take medicine or something, That's not considered a real drinking. So I'm giving a chayiv and brachas.
True.
I'm saying so.
I heard that if you're taking, I'm saying if you take medicine, you don't say bracha on the water.
Correct. It's not for tzama. It's not to quench your
Only
thirst.
when you're thirsty, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering though, if you ate a lot by the Purim Suda and then you started drinking and you're really disgusted by the drinking, are you yaitza? Or
He's doing it for a mitzvah.
yeah, but don't make it Timmy, you can do for a mitzvah all you want. I'm saying if you're
Arbakosos.
Arbakosis, right? The third or fourth. Right? I don't know. Anyways, the interesting Taisus here. That's a very in Torah Masorah. Elio is not on, is he? It's a big hot button topic, but the top Taisus says the loy matzinu b'kaihanim psul b'shonim. There's no such thing as kaihanim, right? A Levi has a maxed out, right? What years? How old can a Levi? 60?
50.
50? 50, a Levi's 50. There's no, so Taisus points out that there's no maximum for there's no maximum age for a kohen. Okay, I don't
So you want to say this is like the Chodesh Lashana? I hear what you want to say.
exactly. Yeah, it's a big issue. I mean, how do you retire?
What?
How do you retire kohanim according to this?
What does that mean?
Meaning, if there's no maximum age for a kohen.
Oh, so they don't retire, no?
No,
It's
but
natural.
they don't do the avodah great. They don't do they don't do a good job in the avodah.
Well, they better use their judgment before that Chalila Chayiv chorus or something. Or they cost a guy $1,000 and he punches him in the face, no?
Luck with that. But it's all the meat we eat and walking around with bare feet. That's a natural occurrence that they.
And age happens fast.
Yaakov, interestingly enough, I'm glad I'm learning Talmud now with Simcha for his bar mitzvah, and talking about the Kahanim, the older Kahanim, where they used to sleep on steps, and the younger Kahanim used to sleep directly on the floor. So you used to treat them a certain way, a different level of Kahanim.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So what do you mean? The older ones?
The older ones.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Okay, but the practical is what Aaron was mentioning. How do you? At what age do you make Rebbeim retire? Right, like Rabbi Aaron before they kill kids. Right.
Exactly.
What age? What age do you do that? Right. Meaning, and there's no retirement fund. There's no anything. So then, what do you do? It's a problem. It's a problem. Yeshivas are struggling with this. Yeah. But anyways, fine. Back in the Gemara. About 10 lines down. Amar of Sheshis. So Rav Sheshes says, "Hayakoyin Tomei beKarban Sibur." Right. So let's say one of the Kayanim of the Mishmar, who was Tomei, right, and then he had to bring a Karban Sibur. So then what does he do? Obviously, he can't bring it because he's Tomei. So Naisna L'chol Misha Yirtze. He gives it to whichever kohen he wants. Right? Why? Because Karban Sibur is Daichatuma. So Mamela, since Karban Sibur is Daichatuma, so he's allowed, even though he doesn't bring it because there's other Kahana, which we'll see in a minute in the Gemara, right? But he's allowed to make whoever he wants into the Shliach to do it for him.
What type of carbon is a carbon seaver that he has a right to?
Well, every carbon, a Talmud, let's say.
But what if he's tummy? Why is he involved in? What does that mean?
I'm assuming what happens is they slot them all in before, that week. Who's bringing what? Who's involved? And then he became Tommy. So now he's got dibs on it, and now he can give away those dibs. Right? The
I think it could be either way. It's the regular mishmar, the people that are the kohanim that are there for that mishmar, or they could pick any kohen they want to deliver it.
What do you mean? You're saying?
I think if regular Yisrael comes by and has to bring a carbon for whatever it is, he could either give it to the mishmar that's there, or he can pick any kohen to bring his carbon up for him.
Okay, right, I hear. No, but the question is this, but the question is here when it says he can give it over to any kohen, does it mean only a kohen in the mishmar or any kohen anywhere?
But Tiago, it's brought down as Machlekes B'Shainim.
Right, yeah, it's a I don't remember who the machlokes was, but it's machlokes Rishayim. Yeah,
the Rajman and the Rosh.
Okay, good. Yeah, so that's a machlokes. Okay, either way, but the guy's allowed to make a shliach because be'etzem he can bring the carbon. But since he can't eat the carbon, so then the avaydasa, which again we said means the meat and the skin, goes to the anshe mishmar. So we're asked, how could this be? Hey, what's the case? Hey, if there are, maybe this is what Akiva you meant to ask. If there are other Torah Kehanim, Tameimi Matzu Avdi, so the Tameh is not allowed to. Meaning theoretically, the Tameh could be mark of the carbon, but we're not going to. When there's other Torah Kehanim, so then he wasn't a player. Be the Leka Tahirim, and if there aren't Tahirim, Avedas of Ayra Anshe Mishmar. The avoid and the Ayra goes to Anshe Mishmar, Hatmeim Ninu. They're all Tameh, but Loy Matzu Avdi, they're not allowed to eat it. Meaning, if the whole Mishmar is Tameh, so then none of them are allowed to eat it. So what do you mean it goes to Anshe Mishmar? What it's saying is that there were Bali Mumim in that Mishmar who were Tahar, so they couldn't bring the carbon, but Lamai said they're Tahar. So then they're allowed to get it. Right, and then Tosis says, well, what? Why should they get? Why should I think maybe this Rachamim, what you were asking, the little Tosis there, the Bali Mumim Tahirim, is saying it's good, so then they can get the meat, but why the skin? Right? Their Tosis seems
well, the same reason why the person before didn't get to eat the skin when it was eaten by somebody. Right. Why Tosis only bothered over here? It was true before also.
I'm not sure. That's yeah, but he clearly here at least Tosis starts saying that there's a chiluk. Yeah. Fine. So Amar Ravashi, another member from Ravashi, so if a Kohen Gadol is an Einin, so we know that an Einin is normally not allowed to bring karbanos, not allowed to do any sort of mitzvahs, but the Kohen Gadol has a what do you call it?
Dispensation.
There you go. Thank you. Dispensation. Kohen Gadol has a dispensation that he could bring karbanos. Okay, but we can't eat it. Right? So then, nice l'chol kohen sheyirtza. Since he be'etzim could bring the carbon, he can give it over to any kohen he wants. Then he's not allowed to eat kachin. So therefore, it goes dafka to anshe mishmar. So we want to ask, my kamashal, what's the chiddush? Tanina, we learn kohen gadol makriv einin. The kohen gadol brings a carbon when he's an einin. Be'ena oichel, he's not allowed to eat it. Be'ena chaylik le'echol le'erev, and he doesn't get a chaylik even in the night. Right? So you see that he can't. You see, beferish. We know that already that he can't eat the meat. So what's the chiddush? Yeah. So the Gemara says, well, even though Aninus is only really the Araisa till Shkia, but the Rabbanon extended it, right? So Sakadai, the Gemara answers. I would have thought Ki Chasrachon Alei the Kohen Gadol. When did the Kohen, when the Torah have Rachmanas on the Kohen Gadol l'kroi vehu, that's only to be makrib. Avla shvuyi shliach, but for the Kohen Gadol to go make a shliach on his behalf, like matzei mashvi, he's not able to. Kamash malon, so we say that he can. Fine. Right in the Mishnah. Yeah. Our guys are now back to the ger. Now we're done with the Kohanim. Meanwhile, and then we're back to the ger. So our guys are less a ger. So somebody stole from a ger. Finish paloi. And he swore to the ger that he didn't steal, and then mace, and then the ger died. So we know what the din is. He's got to pay. I raise a mishalim keren b'chaimish l'kehanim. He pays the keren and the chaimish l'kehanim ba'asham l'mizbeach, and the carbon asham goes to the mizbeach. Shenemar b'mein liish goyel lahashav asham elav. And if the man does not have a redeemer, that the asham goes back to him. Right, Rabbaran of saying, oh yeah, we have to call it here an asham, right? What does asham here mean? Means the stolen money. We're calling it asham, right? Even though the next word is ha'asham hamushav lashem, that's the carbon asham, right? Lashem lakoyin, right? I guess right? We think the Gemara has to take the pasuk takes the lashon of asham, which we'll see in the Gemara, that it's okay. There's got to be something to it.
Poetic reasons, like I said before.
But I get it. It's not so much poetry. It's just like sort of sticking with the same word.
Yeah.
But I guess it comes from the same thing, right? A carbon asham, right? That's where it comes from. But anyway, so the first asham here in the pasuk means the payment. The second asham means the carbon. So Mavan Ela Kippurim Yichaper, besides for the ram of the Kippurim, that he needs a kapara, right? Okay, so again, so the ger dies, he gives the payment to the Kehanim instead, right? Hayamaila is a kesef as a asham if he's bringing up the money and the carbon asham, umeis, and then he dies, meaning the ganav dies. Hakesef, so Yinasin Labanov, the money goes back to the kids because he didn't yet give the money, meaning the money, like we saw yesterday's daf, the money, or 2 days ago, the money, really, he did it. He keeps it, the crook, because he yarshin, he yarshin the ger, because the ger has no relatives, and he had the money, so it was hefker, and he had it. But we said he still has to pay it back as part of the tshuva process. But now that he's dead, he's no longer part of the tshuva process, like we saw in Shari Tshuva. You got to do tshuva before you die, otherwise it's too late. So this guy died, there's no longer any tshuva, his kids could keep the money. But that's meaning they keep the money before it got to the Kehanim. The Asham, and what do you do with the Asham? Yirachi Yistav, you can't do anything with the Asham, so you got to put it out to pasture until it gets a milk. Yeah.
Is that part of a kapara? When you, because the Torah said to give it to the Kahanim, but that's not who he wronged. So how's he getting a kapara by giving it to Kahanim that have nothing to do with anything?
It's what do you mean?
He stole it from a ger. The ger died without yarshim, right? He's supposed to give it back to the ger or to the ger's yarshim. The ger died without yarshim, so the ganef needs a kapara, right?
Correct.
How's he getting a kapara by giving to some strange kohen?
Because that's what the pasuk says.
Is he getting a kapara? Or he's just paying kahanim because the pasuk said so.
He's paying, yeah, but that's
is that kapara. A kapara?
That's what the pasuk. Yeah, that is the kapara. Okay. That is the kapara. The kapara is that he pays kohanim, and if there's no kohanim, we said yesterday he gives it to tzedakah.
Aaron, it's mashma. It's a kapara because why else would he still have to bring the carbon if there's no Indian kapara anymore?
I have no idea.
I'm saying once you see he has to bring the carbon, the money is the kapara as well. I mean, there's no Indian of kapara at this point.
Because the carbon is a separate thing.
Why does it? If you can't do a kapara, you can't do a kapara. I don't understand.
Yes, he can. The ashram is for the shvua. That's still there. The money is for the gzela. That's not there anymore because he yarsh.
Okay, but either way, it's the prescription for the kaparim in Torah. To give it to
the Rambam in Hilchos Kneva says there's 2 parts of a kapara for a ganef. He has to replace what he took from the guy, and he also has to lose something. So the replacing he can't do anymore because the guy's dead. But to lose something that he can do, that's still a kapara.
Right.
That's how he explains the knas kefal.
I hear. Okay, that's interesting. Anyway, so the asham. So again, if he died before he got to Yerushalayim, so then the asham he puts out to graze. V'yimkar v'yiplu damav l'nedava, and he sells, and then he sells the carbon. Once it gets a mum, he sells it because you can't be paid a regular carbon. So you have to wait for it to get a mum. Then he sells it, and then with the money, yiplu damav l'nedava, then he brings a carbon nedava. Nasa nakesef. So that's if he died before he gave the money over. Let's say he died after that. Nasa nakesef la'anshei mishmar meis, but he already gave over the kesef to the kehanim, and then he died. Eina yashim yichan l'loytzim yodam. They cannot take it from his hand, from their hands. Shenemar v'isha sheyitin l'koyin lo yiyeh. Once you give it to the koyin, then it becomes his. Fine. Nasa nakesef. Now we said that there's 24 mishmaros. So each mishmar had a week. So the first mishmar was called how do you say it? Yehayariv, and the second one was Yediyah. So we can see in the Gemara that Yehayariv had much more kaihanim than Yediyah. So now, again, he's bringing a carbon asham. Yeah.
Every coin gets from this payment. Every coin in the mishmar.
But yeah, we're going to see that on the bottom of the oven. Yeah, and if there's no shava pruta, he's going to have to add from his own. Each kohen has to get at least a shava pruta. Otherwise, it's not considered a nesina.
So the guy sold $100, and there's 2,000 kahanim, so he has to add like $10,000 to what he stole. Okay, fine.
Yeah, he was not the brightest bulb in the chandelier starting up with a ger, right?
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. That's what would be. So anyway, so it could be that it goes in parts, meaning there's two parts here. There's the giving the asham and there's giving the money. So the Mishnah is going to say that the money has to be given first and then the asham, right? So it could be that he can do it. Let's say he comes on the mishmar goes from Shabbos to Shabbos, right? So let's say on a Sunday, he comes Friday afternoon and he brings the carbon asham, and then till he gets around to bringing the money to count, it's already Sunday. So now the money and the asham are going to do two different mishmaras. Right, so there's different variations of it. So Nasan Akesel Yahayariv, who's the first mishmar, Asham Yediyah. So he did it in the right order, but he just didn't give it all to the same mishmar. Right, he gave the money to Yahayariv, and then he gave the carbon Asham to the Yediyah. So then Yatza, he is Yatza. But the opposite, Asham Yahayariv, the Kesef Yediyah, he first came with the carbon Asham to the first mishmar, and then give the money to Yediyah, so then it depends. In Kamma Asham, so if the carbon Asham is still there, then Yakrivu b'nei Yediyah. So Yedaya, or Yedaya, I don't know how to pronounce it. Yedaya, right? The Yedaya brings it. Why? Because the Hayariv did something wrong. They should not have taken this carbon Asham, because they said, what are you bringing? The guy comes to Beis HaMikdash and says, here's a carbon Asham because I stole from a ger who died and I swore falsely and now I'm paying him back. So they say, okay, where's the money? You got to give us the money first. Why are you bringing carbon asham? So since they took the carbon asham, they get knast and they don't get to bring it. Right? Vimloi, and if not, Yachser, he goes back, meaning, and if the carbon is no longer there, then Yachser, the Yavi asham acha, then the crook has to bring a new carbon. So he lost out. Right, so again, if the carbon is in existence, so then the second mishmar brings it, because the first mishmar is in trouble, so they should not have accepted it. And if there is no carbon, then the crook has to bring it back. Why? Maybe somebody who brings the gzela before he brings the carbon asham to his yatsa. Hevi ashama hachaloi hevi gzela lo yatsa. But if he brings his carbon asham before he brings his gzela, it's not yatsa. Fine, nothing as a keren, but nothing as a chaimish. If he gave the keren, but he didn't give the chaimish, right? Ain't a chaimish ma'akiv, that's not ma'akiv, right? Meaning he gave the keren, he was supposed to bring a chaimish because he lied, but he didn't, and then he brought the carbon, that's fine. He can bring the chaimish after the carbon, even though the full payment's meant to be before, but he didn't, the main thing is the keren and not the chaimish. Okay.
General rule in business: take the money. Take the money first. The money first. Then worry about the other details. Take the money first.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had this shaila twice. Once yesterday, one today, or both yesterday, about the guys getting ripped off in Ponzi schemes. That's a whole shaila. It's a whole shaila getting paid back, because one guy actually got some money out of the guy. So the shaila is, can he keep it? Because maybe other people that came later or earlier than him should get the money, right? It's a whole shaila. So the guy said, what should I do? I said, you take the money. Take the money, and then we'll deal with whatever. If the guy calls you up, don't start clearing. You say you're coming right now, you're getting the money. Then you'll speak to Rabbanim, and you figure out who gets to keep the money. But get it away from him. Yeah. Anyway, so that's yes, the same thing here, Rachamim. That's what you're saying. Okay. Tarabban. Asham zeh. So this Asham, Karen. Yeah, so that's what we were discussing. What does the word asham mean? So here we're saying that asham means the keren. Hamushav, right? That has to be returned. Zeh chaimish. That's chaimish, or maybe not. Or asham zeh ayil, or maybe the word asham is going on the ayil. Okay, l'may nafkamina. What's the difference? We know that you have to bring all of that. Lafukim the Rava, the Amar Rava comes to school Rava because Rava said, Gezel hager zero belayla. If the guy brings back the money at night, meaning he's bringing the money to the kaihanim at night, la yotza, he's not yotza giving back the money, right? Why not? Because just like a korban, if you learn it comes out from a korban, so there's no korbanos at night. So the same way there's no korbanos at night, so therefore you can't give back the gazela at night either. Again,
The Mikdash is closed. Who's he going to give it to?
What?
The Mikdash is closed. Who's he giving it to?
The night watchman, I guess. No.
There's no Mikdash at night.
The pushka's always open.
No, there is a mikdash. They're burning the Avarim.
There's nobody there.
There's nobody. There's got to be some there. Aren't they eating? Aren't they eating at night? Are they eating not in the Beis Hamikdash?
Some chatas has to be eaten inside. There's a lot of eating going on over there. That's a big part of the avodah, the eating.
Right.
Am I missing something? What's the problem with here?
At night, who's he giving it to? That's what he's asking. Who's he giving it to?
Giving what to? This Rava, you mean?
What?
Talking about Rava?
Yes.
It's money.
No.
Not carbonis.
Right. So you can't give the money at night. That's what we're saying. If you
What
hold
does it have
it,
to do with the Beis Hamikdash?
you mean where else is? I mean, he can give it to Kohanim not in the Beis Hamikdash.
Kohanim all over the place. Yeah.
He has to give to that mishmar.
Yeah, they're going to be the majority of the Kohanim in Yerushalayim.
You're saying he goes to the.
Where are you making up Baba Mises? The majority of Kohanim in Yerushalayim. How do you know that? What are you talking about?
It's Mishnayos and Shots. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is.
What did it said?
Came from all over Eretz Yisrael.
That what?
That's right. And there's Kohanim that lived in Yerushalayim.
There are.
Thousands of Kohanim that lived. There was thousands of Kohanim that lived in Yerushalayim. Okay?
Yeah. You can argue with Mishnayos if you want. That's fine. But I try not to.
That's fine too.
The Mishnah said most of the Kohanim are from the Mishmar?
Yes, in any given week. Most of the Kohanim in Yerushalayim are from that Mishmar.
Where is it? Is that Pesachim?
They gave it to I think it's about Mitzvah.
Okay, we'll find out, won't we? Maybe. If we remember.
It's also it's all over the place.
Yeah, but doesn't it have
They gave it to Hachzara, the same places that we learned the Shemen, if you find it's or wine at certain times of year, or grain at certain times of year. Outside Yerushalayim, in Yerushalayim, the same ideas. Who it belongs to.
Yeah, but doesn't it from the Psukim, isn't it Masha that should be brought to the Beis Hamikdash?
I don't know. Why? Just has to be given to a Kohen.
I feel like that from the Psukim. Right?
The only pasuk is Lashem Lakayin.
Right. I don't know. I thought it has to go to Beis Hamikdash, but I hear your point. Right. Okay. So anyway, so what's enough kamina whether it's called asham? Because you have Rava's din that you can't give it back at night. Right? And also that's one din Rava said, if he gave it back in halves, he's not yotzei. Meaning you have to give back the whole payment at one time. Right? But I guess that's assuming the same way you can't bring a half a carbon, so you can't bring a half a payment either. My timer, asham kari rachmana, because the Torah called it an asham. Meaning even though it's a payment for stolen money, but it's called an asham. Okay. And then when it says except for the El HaKippurim, right? Haviyaimer Asham Zekeren. So then you're gonna have to say that the asham is referring to the keren. Fine. Tani Yidach, another right. So asham ze keren. Asham is a keren. Hamushav ze chaimish. Is chaimish. Ayin ela asham ze chaimish. What do you say? No, asham is a chaimish. Lamai nafkamina. What's the difference? La fuke mimasnisin to exclude amish. The tan nasan lo yasa keren v'lo nasan lo yasa chaimish. If he gives him the keren and he doesn't give him the chaimish, ayin a chaimish ma'akiv. The chaimish is not ma'akiv. Right? Adarabah chaimish ma'akiv. But then we say, what do you mean? The chaimish would be ma'akiv. If you're calling it an asham, then it's ma'akiv. So when it says he gives back the asham, and it's fifth, and the meaning it gives back the asham in the beginning, and a fifth, asham ze keren. That asham is referring to keren. By Tani Idach, asham ze keren, hamushav ze chaimish, ubegezel ager akosmud. It's all about gezel ager. Mushav ze kefel. Maybe Mushav is referring to kefel. Ubegenevas hagera kosamadav. We're talking about the geneva of the ger. So Gemara says, "Kishuaymer beheshav as hashami b'roisha v'chamishisai harei b'maman hamashtalim b'roisha kosamadav." That's talking about money that gets paid back right away, which is the beroi, meaning that it's the keren. So therefore, it's not talking about geneva. It's talking about Gezela, right? And Mela, if it's sorry, what did I just say? It's talking about Gezela, not Geneva. If it's Geneva, it would be Kefal. But then this person's talking about Gezela. Fine. Okay, Gufa. Amar Rabba. Rabba said, yeah. Gazel ager shechziru b'layla. Rabba said that if you stole from the ger and he died, and you have to bring him to the Kaihanim, so you're going to return it at night, lo yotza. You're not yotza. Hichziru chatzayin, lo yotza. If you brought it back in half, so you're not yotza. My time, asham kari rachmana, because the Torah calls it an asham. Fine, that's a repeat of the Gemara. I don't know why the Gemara repeats it. Rama Rava, another din of Rava. Gezel hager she'ein by shava pruta l'chol kohen v'kohen. So now we said that he has to give the money back to all the Kahanim from the Mishmar, right? So if you have Gezel Ager, that there's no Shava Pruta for each Kohen, so which according to Gershon, that means there was a whole lot of Kehanim, thousands and thousands. So depending on how much money this guy stole, each one has to get at least a Pruta. And if there's not enough Prutas to go along to all the Kehanim in the Mishnah, in the Mishmar, then Memela he has to add on to it so that each one gets a Shava Pruta. Right? So again, Gazel Ager, She'ein by Shava Pruta l'chol kohen v'kohen. Right? There's no Shava Pruta for each kohen. Lo yotzi nechevos, and the guy is not yotzi as fee of my timer. Tichsev ha'asham ha'mushav, ad she'eh hashava l'chol kohen v'kohen. There has to be a hashava to each and every kohen. But it's a boy, Rava has the shaila, ein by l'mishmeres yahoyrev. So let's say there was not enough prutas. The mishmar of Yehorev was a lot bigger than the mishmar of Yedaya, right? So if there was not enough prutas for Yehorev, the Yeshbay on Tamid Beis, the Yeshbay the mishmeres Yedaya, but there was enough mishmeres of Yedaya. So now what's the din? So the Gemara asks right off the bat, what is this question? Hey Chidam, he wants to get Elam Yedaya, the mishmeres Yedaya. Right? If he's talking about where he gave his payment by Yedaya, so ha'isbei, that's enough. Right? So what are we talking about? What happened was he gave it to the Yedaya, meaning the second Mishmar, during the Mishmar of Yehorev. So what's the shayla? Mai. Who do we say that since it wasn't Yehodaya's Mishmar, but like Klomu, right? And then it's nothing, right? Meaning it's not called giving back the money to the Kohen because he's supposed to give it to the Kohen whose Mishmar it's in, and he gave it to the next Mishmars. So therefore, it's not considered a Chazara. Since there's no way they can give it to Yehorev because there's not enough prutas to go around, so really it was always meant to go to Yedaya. So we say Teku. Meaning, a guy's got to be smart about it. This crook, right?
I don't.
If he knows that he's got to give a shava pruta to this mishmar that's got thousands and thousands of guys, so he should hold off from giving it and wait till the next mishmar that has much less kohanim. So the Gemara is saying that it was destined to have, it was destined to be that way. So Mamela, even though he gave it to the Yahidaya during the Yahiriv's mishmar, it's still okay.
Who brings the carbon?
What?
Who would bring the carbon?
Whoever he gives to the carbon.
No, I'm saying if he gave it to Yedaya and Yahira, which is the first mishmar, brings it. So you have two different mishmaras doing two different parts of the kapara.
No, so
you have to give the money first. But he's giving the money in the wrong mishmar. So who's bringing the carbon? Why can't he just wait till Yedaya comes and have them bring the carbon as well so everything's good?
I don't know. Well, Shkaya, I don't know why he didn't wait for Yedaya.
I'm just saying, unless he wants to bring the carbon now, but then he's doing it with two different mishmaras.
Why is that an issue?
I'm saying
because we said before you shouldn't have chatzi. I'm saying when it comes to two different mishmaras.
That's the money. Chatzi.
No, I'm saying the mishmaras, you shouldn't have two different mishmaras doing it.
There wasn't a problem in that memra.
The Asham must be the big problem.
You just can't get it the wrong way around.
You have the mishmar doing both things. We never had a problem with that. If you have Yedaya doing the carbon, then what's the problem? You had them do everything. You just said that's fine.
In that
clearly saying you're having Yahirav do the bringing of the carbon.
In that memra, you could have the money go to Yahirav and the carbon to Yedaya. That was no problem in the dice. Two mishmaros was not an issue.
But here you're doing it. I mean, I don't know if you're doing it out of order, but you're giving it to the wrong mishmar.
Right. It seems backwards, but in chronology, it's forwards. That's fine, as long as the money comes before the carbon.
Yeah. Okay. It's late, so I don't know. I don't know why he's doing it this way, but yeah. You see Taisus. I don't know. Do you see the top Taisus, Akiva? Is that what's bothering you?
Right. But I'm like wondering, is Taisus explaining why it's fine? Like, I don't understand why. Is it fine?
The Taisus is saying you can even give the Asham to Yahira.
Right. That's what I was wondering, why that would be fine. I was trying to understand how that would be fine.
No, because it's really goes to Yahira, but it's not right for him. So Mamela, it's really meant for what's the name?
Yedaya.
Okay, I can't say I understand the lumbus. Fine. Okay. Fine.
Why? He's making them both happy.
That's true. That is true.
The Yarv wants something, so they'll get the carbon.
I hear. Okay, very good. Gezel Hager Keneged Gezel Hager. So can Kaihanim swap with each other? Right? Meaning when Kaihanim normally are not allowed to swap, when they get the portion of the animals, they're not allowed to swap. Right? So do we say that the stolen is also they can't swap? Now I don't understand, what are they swapping for exactly? I understand that they can't swap meat from korbanos. Okay, they're swapping. This one wants a pulka, and this one wants a first cut brisket. This one wants a second.
Swapping duties.
No, what?
Maybe they want to swap the day they're doing it.
No, they're swapping. No, they're swapping the meat.
I thought you just said they can't swap the meat.
They're not allowed to. I'm saying the Mishnah is saying you're not allowed to. Not the Mishnah. The Shaila is saying you're not allowed to. Well, what about the stolen money? Right? But I don't know what are they doing? They all get an equal piece. I mean, I don't know what they would be swapping. I don't know.
Of the carbon?
No, of money.
Or the money.
Yeah. Unless he gave different coins and one guy had a wheat back penny and the other one had a regular penny. That's what it means. I don't know. Okay. Mi amrina asham kari rachmana. That's one of those kashas where it's
maybe it's like an advance in payment. He's saying, oh, there's another guy coming later on. He's like, can I just take more of the money now and I'll take yours later on? Like he's cashing his check early. He went to the it was the he was the you could cash your check early type place.
I don't. Okay. Yeah. Maybe that's
He's taking an advancement.
Yeah.
Against his future Zayla being paid back.
I don't know. Okay. Maybe. I don't know. To me, this kasha is so simple. It just tells me that I don't have any idea what I'm reading in the Gemara. That's the way I see it. But anyways, so me, I'm reading Asham Kai Rahman. It's called an Asham. Ma Asham Ein Chalkin Asham Keneged Asham. You don't split an Asham Neged an Asham. Af Gezel Ein Chalkin Gezel Ager Keneged Gezel Keneged Gezel Ager. You can't swap. Oh, maybe that's what it means. One ger with a different ger. So one guy paid a lot of money. One gave a lot more. One gave 10 prutas and one gave 1 pruta. Can that be? I don't know why he would swap, but that's.
I thought it meant a different mishmaris. So the Gezel Ager of the smaller mishmar ended up being a much larger amount. And the larger mishmar got exactly a pruta each. So can they switch it so they'll both get more out of it?
Okay, maybe that's okay, maybe. So ein cholken gezel ager k'nei gezel ager. Yidum gezel ager ma'maynu. What do we say? Gezel ager is mammon. Fine. Hadar pashta asham kai Rahman. It's called an asham, so that's it. Ravacha Brei the Rava Masila Behedyu. Ravacha Brei the Rava says it Behedyu Amar Rava. Kahanim ein cholken gezel hager k'nei gezel ager. He says it beferish. We don't split it. My time asham kai Rahman. It's called an asham. Fine. Boy Rav. Kahanim begezel ager yarshin hava his lumbus, right? When kahanim are getting the money, the stolen money, are they yarshim or makabel matanas hava, or are they makabel matanas? My nafkamina. What's the difference? Kigoin shegozel chametz shavel of a pesach. Somewhere where the guy stole chametz shavel of a pesach, which is worthless. Iyamrit yarshin hava. Even if they say yarshin, hainu hai. The Yarsi Myris. This is what they Yarshin, meaning tough luck to you. You Yarshin Chametz Shalav Pesach, which is puzzle. That's the tough luck on the Kahanim. But if you say that it's not a Yerusha, it's Makama Matanas, Matana Kamma Rachmana de Nesilahu. So you give a Matana to Kahanim. But when you're giving him something that's also Bahana, you're giving him nothing. The Afar Ba'amu, all you're giving him is dirt. Meaning we're saying that if it's a matana that you have to give to Kayanim, it's not a Yerusha of the ger. Then giving them a matana of chametz on Pesach or chametz or Pesach is not a matana. So therefore, there's no kapara, and you would have to pay them back.
How could you say they were yarshin it?
Because that's the koyach that they're getting it from.
It could go to any mishmar. You're saying the Kahanim as a whole?
Yeah.
You can't say on an individual basis you have a din Yerusha.
Whoever gets it. Whoever gets it, any of the kind, whichever particular kind gets it.
You're saying it's a qualitative thing. The Kahanim are Yarshin.
Yeah.
But didn't we just say it's not Mammon according to Rava? It's a carbon basically.
It's a carbon, but it's a carbon through. It's a carbon. It's called Asham, but really it would be. That's the way I understand it. So Rav Zira by Hachi, Rav Zira has a different shayla. Even if you say that the Gayanam Makabel Matana, Halei Boilan, that's not a shayla. The Matana Amarachmana the Nesiv Lahu. That's the Torah. That's the present that the Torah said. Meaning, even if it's chametz, it's a present, and the present is what you have to give what you stole. It was chametz shalav pesach. Fine, you're okay. So he totally disagrees with that last Gemara, and he says that even if it's a matana, chametz shalav pesach is fine. Ella, kikami bailon. What's the shaila? The Kehanim got 10 animals for the gezela from the ger. Do they have to separate Maisa from that? Yarshin Hava, are they considered Yarshim? Damar Mar Kana B'Tfisas Abayis Chayovin. If Yarshim are kind of something in the Tfisas Abayis as part of the Yerusha, then they have to give Maisa. We say that it's a matana of Tnan. Halakech, somebody who buys animals that were not meiser yet. Panitan levin matana, or somebody who animals were given to him matana, potter meiser behema. He's potter from meiser behema. So what's the din? Are they potter or are they not potter? Agav, you do have to pay meiser ksafim. You get this question fairly often. Somebody yarshins money, you have to take off meiser from that money, even though the person that died took off meiser, right? So what? That's a new. It's considered a new. It's a new.
Like the government's inheritance tax.
Yeah, basically, right, exactly. Even though
Your father paid money, and
right. Yeah, so the meiser is the same thing. Even though he gave off meiser, same thing if somebody buys something in a store, you have to take off meiser. Oh, the purchaser already took off meiser. It'll make a difference. It's a new win. And even though that's meiser ksavim, has nothing to do with this, but a Yerusha you have to take off meiser. If it's a present, you don't have to take off meiser behavior.
But see, how the old Yerushas did a v'kulches?
For meiser ksavim?
I'm saying even isn't there a tzad Yerusha is considered din lekech?
Even so what? You still have to take off meiser, no?
No, what we just said, lekech. I need levin matanas potter b'meiser. I'm asking if you hold the din Yerusha, the din lekech. So then would that Mandi Amar hold over here? It's different.
I don't know. I would think, yeah, but I don't know.
Why would you? I'm saying if you consider lekech, then you're potter.
Right. No, I hear. Right. Okay, so let's see. There's a Tashma. There's a long raya right here, but it's easy. Esther and Rabbi Matnas Kahuna Nitnu Aaron of one of. There were 24 Matnas Kahuna given to Aaron and his kids. The Kulan Nitnu Beklal Uprat Uklal. They were all given in a klal and a prat in a klal. Rashi goes through that. The first is a pasuk that they get Matnas Kahuna, then the specifics, and then the pasuk says it again. Ubris Melach, and it's another poetic license there, Racham. Bris Melach, because we know from Karbonos that you're supposed to have salt. Right, so it's called bris melach means it's a bris like salt, meaning because salt preserves. So mamela, it's a bris forever. Right, call him a kaiman. Anybody who's makayim, all these chaftalit, matnas kahuna, kilo makayim, klalo prado klalo bris melach. It's as if he's makayim the whole Torah. That's the way Rashi explains that. Right, because it's one of the Yud Gimel Midas. And kol over alein. If you're over on giving the matnas kuna kilo over al klalu prado klalu bris melach, velu hain, and this is what they are. Eser b'mikdash, 10 in the mikdash, dal Yerushalayim, 4 in Yerushalayim. Ve'eser b'gvulim, and 10 in the boundaries, meaning outside of Yerushalayim. So eser b'mikdash were chatos behema, chatos ha'oif, asham vadai, asham tali. Right, that's an asham that goes up and down, depending on. Whether you did an aver or not. The zivche shalmei tzibur, the loig shemen shal mitzayra, umeiser ha'omer, the leftover the carbon omer, shtei halechem, lechem aponim, sheyarim menachos. That's the 10 that are in the Mesa Mikdash. Arba b'Yerushalayim are ha'bechayra, right? The bechor has to be eaten in Yerushalayim. Bikurim and Vamuram ben Hataida, and whatever separated from the carbon taida, right? The carbon taida is 40 loaves of bread, right? And then 4 of those breads go to the Kehanim, the El Nazir and the Isle of the Nazir, the Iris Kachim and the skins of the Kachim. Basara Begvulim and 10 in the bounty.
Chayra and Bikurim 1?
What? No, I don't think so.
Aren't there 5 there?
B'chayra bikurim, morim and ataida, ba'ayil nazir. That's 1. Morim and ataida and ayil nazir, and ayil nazir is the same.
One's a shlomim, one's a chatas. Okay.
All right. Rashi says, see the second line down, second wide line down. Rashi says they're similar to each other, so therefore it's considered 1. Right, Vasara b'gvulin and 10 in the b'gvulin. Truma's meiser. Right, chala. I mean, these all take place in Eretz Yisrael. Chala, reishis agez, ba'matonas. Right, that's from the parts of the animals. Pidyon aben, pidyon pedach chamor, stei achuza. Right, stay achuz is the field like we learned in yesterday's daf, that somebody made it hektish, and then after yovel it goes to the kehanim who stay charomim, and somebody makes a cherem on his field. The gezel ager, that's the main point here, and the stealing of the ger. The kakari miyas matana. What gezel ager have to do with matnas kahuna? Shmamina mekable matana sava. So you see that it's considered a matana, not a yerusha. Shmamina, and therefore, since it's a matana, if a guy stole 10 animals from a ger and it gives it to the kahanim, they do not have to take off. They do not have to take off ma'aser from that. Okay, I would have wanted to go a little weiter, but we'll stop over here. It's late.
Pretty funny. Went through the whole thing just to get to the Matanas from him, just to get the
Whole thing, just to get. As I said, it's one of a long brisa till the last line, till the last words. Yeah. All right. Hey Gimel. Yeah. Hey Gimel. Shir mizmal asaf. Elim adam elach hatechrash tishkot el. Ki nei yevecha yamon. Umasanecha nosurosh. Alam chiyorim yosar yisrael tu al tunecha. Amru l'chu v'nachinu midavi lo yisach Hashem yisrael al kinor tu lev yachtav alecha b'ritzi kroisi. Alei adam yishmeil am yav agrim gval v'amayin v'amalek peleshes miyoshvetzar gamashu nevaim ha'Yisrael v'nei leitzela. Seilam kimidian kasisro. Yavam nacho kishan. Ishmedu vein dar yudam ela adama shisem and divem mikari because they were gazal with someone coming to Chema. Shar amru nishalan ways noise alihim. Elei hashi saying like a gal kash lifnei ruach kesh. Vayach lavet lahet harim came to the famous arachul subas kusivalim. Alei fnei kalam vach shimcha dinoi yevash yival ader v'yachru v'yavedu v'yedu kiat shimcha dinoi l'madecha. Yana kol haaretz. Achinu kaveis Yisrael hanasuna batzara v'shiva yahim dimei v'yam vein v'yavashim achim yirachim aleihem. Yatzei mitzal v'vacha me'afei l'layr m'shiva l'gula. Hashtam b'agula ha'karev v'na'ar amein.